objectives of this meeting, and I find it remarkable, timely, and in some sense, quite necessary. Why is that so? Because the choices before us, the choices represented by the two major political parties, the Democrats and the Republicans, are really choices between neoliberalism and neo-fascism, or neoconservatism, which is really the same thing. And those are not choices for working people, because what both parties and these neo-conservative and neoliberal movements present is...
This is a call from Pennsylvania State Correctional Institution, Mahanoy. This call is subject to recording and monitoring.
Is the sale of their party to the highest bidder. To suggest that the corporate elites, the wealthy, the super wealthy, are in control of these parties is but to state the obvious. The only thing they don't control is independent workers who gather together to defend their class interests and the interests not just of their people, but of all people, of the common people of the world. That can be done, but it must be a conscious effort by people who want to see social transformation, not just along the cheap integers of race or gender, but of class, more importantly, what? Consciousness. It is only those forces that can really move us forward. And I say that as someone who looked on. I mean, I was critical, but I looked on during the inauguration of the Obama administration. And yeah, let's be honest, I was filled with hope, but that hope did not spring eternal. I was filled with other emotions afterwards. It was really disappointment, what could have been and what did not happen. And I think we're teeing ourselves up to the same ball play, the same game, this time along the lenses of gender and race. So what we need now is people who dare to talk about not just the middle class.
This is a call from Pennsylvania State Correctional Institution, Mahanoy. This call is subject to recording and monitoring.
But working classes and the poor. You know, nobody talks about poor people. And there are millions and millions of poor people in this country who can barely survive. So I salute all of you for what you're doing. I find it remarkable. And we need more of this, but we need it all across this vast country.
What are the feelings about the Obama administration in the aftermath?
It was a tremendous lost opportunity. If you think about it, I mean, his administration was a time of great reward to the corporations that were considered too big to fail. I mean, they made money hand over fist. And they made public money, right? The government gave them really what are tax dollars so that they could not fall. Wouldn't it be remarkable to think about a family as something too important to fail, right? Or a small business, but we haven't gotten there yet. And so all we really did was rebuild capitalism on an insecure foundation, right? Because the same forces that brought us the mortgage crisis of that era, they're out there now building new bubbles. This time what I think is a real estate bubble. And, so until we begin to dare to speak and think and act in an anti-capitalist fashion, we will have bubble after bubble and bubble burst and public monies from the people rendered to save corporate that don't give a damn about the poor or workers or anybody else but themselves.
What do you think will stop fascism?
Radical democracy and the understanding, right, that we have been here before, right? Think about this. The same intellectual forces and social forces and corporate forces that supported the Nazi movement and the fascist movement in Germany and Italy are at work today, right? To bring forth what I call this neo-fascist moment. And what is fascism but the convergence of the state and capital, right? And, you know, if we don't fight this thing, we'll see things that our grandfathers and grandmothers could never have dreamed of. I mean, we will see dread and horror and ugliness. And what else will we see? We'll see this great leap to what? To war. Because the defense industries never tire of selling weapons to support wars that the people are not really in support of. You know, they'll talk all this talk just to get sons and daughters of the people allied and in support of wars. I thought we learned something from Iraq, right? The big lie about weapons of mass destruction. And here we are a generation later, walking that same path. So, you know, we've got to learn from the past, or we are doomed to repeat.
Finally, Mumia, why do you think someone like Trump appeals to so many Americans?
Well, I think there's been an illusion. When I listen to people call up and talk about, you know, their anxieties and their fears and their concerns and their wishes, what I hear very often is, well, you don't need a politician, you need a businessman. And I laugh when I hear that because Trump is many things, but let's be real now. A businessman, or a good businessman, he ain't. I mean, how many bankruptcies do you have to have before you're a failed businessman? And, but people, I think poor people and working class people have been conditioned to do what? To worship the wealthy, right? I mean, like, it ain't a stretch to think about like the Kardashians running for high office because they'll get millions of votes because of their fame and fortune, right? The poor and the working class have been conditioned from old England and much of Europe to worship the wealthy, to worship the lords, the princes, the kings. In America, there are no kings and princes, but there are wealthy people. They're the princes of capital. And we worship them. They can do no wrong. And in every sense, even in a legal sense, they truly are immune from unlike anybody else. So, you know, we got to stop worshiping and bowing to people, no matter how much they have. Because much of what they've gotten is ill-gotten gains. They stole it from the workers. They stole it from the poor. You know, if you lived in New Jersey and you saw how do you, like, bankrupt a casino? I can't figure that one out. You know, when money comes through that place like water running in a river, how do you, like, bankrupt that? Well, it happens, you know. So, that's what I think, y'all.
Thank you so very much for sharing your thoughts with us. We're honored that you would join a conversation at a union hall in LA.
It is my pleasure and my honor. I thank you all. Thank you, Dr. Fernandez.
Thank you. We love you.